Hey guys, Brandon here with Texas Plinking, and hopefully you guys can hear me okay. There's a lot of like wind and background yard work sound in the background, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear me okay. But anyway, in this video I want to compare two different paint cans for if you're trying to paint a rifle or Harsh yourself and you want to go after a flat dark earth look. So yeah, with that said, I had a pretty bad experience with this when I had the expectations of getting like an FDE from Magpul. Now this is FDE from Magpul. This is not painted, so just so we can have a basis here. And two paints out there that that are worth looking into is this one right here. This is the Rust-Oleum, and before I had this one, I just had this, and so this is a rail cover I try to paint. And I don't think the camera's really going to do that justice on how big of a difference there is. This is obviously the Magpul is much darker, and this, when it's on the same rifle, now I don't have this on my Bushmaster, I took it off, but I do have the same color on the stock, and when these two are on there, they don't blend in that well. It's very, very different shades of tan. So anyway, with that said, I've been looking around for some other alternatives, and I was on Amazon and I found this right here. This is just called Military Digital. This is made by this company right here, and this is called, I think, Coyote Brown, I believe. But anyway, with that said, I've seen some other people use this with better results anyway. So I've already painted these two rail covers with this right here. But what I'm going to do is just put some more coats on there. I'm going to just put like 2 more coats with this one on there just because it's already kind of chipping. And then I'm going to just completely start fresh with this one with the Coyote Brown. And then we're going to see which one is closest to the Magpul FDE. Now, with that said, the reason I'm testing this is because I haven't told you guys this yet, but I actually have a new rifle coming in on Monday the 26th. So only a few more days of waiting. And I want to get a Magpul UBR stock for it, but finding a FDE one right now is really tough because they're in the process of making their new generation UBR stock. So it looks like I'm going to have to get a earlier generation one, but it's so hard to find an FDE. So I'm going to have to probably get a black one, and if I'm satisfied with this color, I might just get a black one and try to paint it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to go ahead and start off with the one I've already used, but we're just going to go ahead and put a new coat down there just to see if there's any differences with wet paint anyway, just to keep it as fair as possible. Now both of these paints are available on Amazon too, so if you like the result of one of them versus the other, or you want 2 different shades of tan for some reason, then I will put the link to both of these on Amazon. We'll go ahead and leave it there for now. Now this looks good when you don't compare it to anything else. The tan on the top of the bottle here, and then when you're spraying it, it looks good, but you realize how off it is when you compare it to actual FDE from Magpul. You realize this is more of a brown than a tan, or so they'll just call it flat dark earth, not really a tan, versus this is tan. So with that said, we'll let that dry and get to doing this one here. Try not to get any overspray so I know that it's not affecting it. I think that's in frame here. Alright, so this is the first time I've used the Coyote Brown. Alright, let's try it out. That definitely looks more brown than tan. It's really glossy right now, so we are going to have to wait for it to dry, but just looking at the wet paint, both of them seem kind of far off, but we'll see what happens after they dry. Alright, so I thought I was going to have to do more coats to get the idea, but no, one solid coat's enough, and everything's kind of dried to the touch now. And kind of have a conclusion here, and I kind of want to try something else. So with that said, no surprises with this one as I've done it before. It matches the top of the can pretty well, so does this one for the most part, but this is too brown for me. I realize it's Coyote Brown, but it was a little too brown versus this tan was too tan for me. So with that said, I pulled one more FDE piece. This is not specifically Magpul, this is an MFT mag, but it's pretty comparable to Magpul, as you can see. Both of them are kind of in between these two. So it kind of looks like a little Goldilocks situation. This is too tan, that's too brown, but somewhere in between is the right shade, which makes me wish that there was a combination between these two. And that kind of makes me want to try something here. So with that said, when we compare the Coyote Brown next to some FDE, some true FDE, way too brown obviously, put the tan in there, and that's okay, but obviously still too light. So like I was saying, that kind of makes me want to blend these two in some way, shape, or form. So we have those 2 examples down there, and so what I have here is just a paper plate. I'm going to try to paint some, you know, kind of go back and forth between these two. In theory, hopefully I'll just combine them to get a middle between that 2 tan and 2 brown. and hopefully we could get something along the lines of this. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and move all this so I don't get overspray, and see if we can't get something here. And if I like it, then I'll just go ahead and repaint those. So with that said, I think I'm going to start with the darker color. I think that's kind of the thing to do. All right, here we go. I'm probably just going to do a light coat of this, or actually I'll probably just do a full coat here. Probably just focusing just on the center. Wait for that to dry a little bit, and then I'll see if I can't correct that with a little bit of tan and go back and forth until I find a nice little middle there. All right, so it's not completely dry, but for the sake of painting a paper plate, I'm going to go ahead and try to put the lighter tan on there and see what we get. Now, I'm trying not to get a splotchy look, so don't really know how to go about this, but let's just try. See, that was my fear. When I start painting, it gets all dotty and splotchy, and if I want to avoid that, I have to paint a whole new layer. So, yeah, that's a tough one. Let's see if I can't combat that here. So when it's wet, it's still obviously too light, and then when it dries, it only gets lighter. Anyway, we'll go ahead and let that dry before I do anything else. Alright, bear with me, I'm kind of learning as I go here and experimenting here, but from what it turns out, painting the darker surface then the lighter one, I thought I just kind of covered the light one and it's kind of started from the beginning again, but then I put a blotch of the lighter stuff here, and this is still darker than that, to where now if I put some Magpul FDE here, it's actually not too bad. It's better than our other two examples down there, so that kind of makes me think that's pretty darn good. So maybe just painting a darker surface with the Coyote Brown, letting that dry a little bit, and then putting the lighter stuff, but just a fine layer, but just enough paint to where you don't get the splotchy dots and stuff. That actually looks the best so far. So if I get our rail covers here again, it's on the lighter side, but it's not too bad. That kind of makes me want to paint this one darker again, and then paint both of them the lighter tan. That would be interesting. So I think what I'm going to do here is just paint this one brown as well, just so I have them both matching again anyway, and then try to paint them tan, the lighter tan. Okay, I'm going to get overspray on my Magpul here. Let me move it. There we go. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and actually take my time with this because it is actually rail covers, not just a paper plate. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry. Then I'm going to go ahead and put some of this on there and see how close we could get to FDE. Alright, it's been a few minutes, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put the lighter tan on there. And then after this coat, that's when I'm going to be most patient and then wait probably like 5 to 10 minutes before I even touch it. Alright, so after letting those handguards dry, the final result is right there. So with that said, I'm looking at the camera's rear LCD screen, and from the looks of it, from your guys' perspective, there's a slight difference, but it looks pretty good. And that's pretty much how it resembles here. I'll get a close-up showing the handguard, close-up with the actual MOV, Flat Dark Earth from Magpul. Yeah, it's still a little too light from what I did there, but that was my best bet, is going a little darker, then finishing off lighter, because the Coyote Brown was just too brown, too dark. It would not have matched at all. It is a pure brown, in my opinion. But yeah, this tan was too tan, but when you put a little bit of the dark underneath, the Coyote Brown underneath, then painted it, it's still too light, but it's as close as I'm personally going to get with just spray cans. But yeah, anyway, I got a close-up of that together, or actually even the mag as well. Autofocus should do that. Actually, there you go. If it will just focus, there it is. So yeah, with certain lighting you can tell that the handguard and the scope are still a little lighter than that mag, but you know, it's not terrible. But with that said, the point of this was to see if I could get it good enough to where I could get a black Magpul UVR stock and try to paint it Flat Dark Earth. And I think those UVR stocks are a little bit too expensive for me to mess it up and paint it a little too light, so I'll probably just keep my eye out on eBay until a Flat Dark Earth one pops up, so I don't have to mess with that. But anyway, with that said, I know this wasn't too conclusive of a video, but with that said, if you are interested in any one of those two paint cans that I used today, that will be, the link to those on Amazon will be in the description. But with that said, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, pretty exciting times. On Monday, the 26th, not too far from now, a new rifle comes in, so that's going to be exciting. I'm not going to say too much now, but it'll be a fun project, not total project gun, but do a couple things to it and it'll be pretty fun. In fact, I just got this new loophole scope 3x9 for it as well. So that's probably all of the teasers I'll do for that gun, but yeah, not too far from now, should be in here. But with that said, like I said, not too conclusive of a video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it nonetheless. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a great day.